WWL Louisiana News at 5 begins with breaking news.
Well, President Biden has landed in New Orleans. He's here to pay his respects to the families of the 14 people killed less than a week ago on Bourbon Street. Members of the community will have a chance to pray with him and the First Lady. And that is where we begin this evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sharice Gibson.
And I'm Katie Moore. It has been 5 days since the attack that shook our city to its core. Tonight we have team coverage of the president's visit. It is also the first day of Carnival, a somber one, and there will be extra security for it.
We'll also look into criticisms of the city's security plan and calls for NOPD Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick to resign, and who's pushing back. After President Biden wraps up his meeting with victims' family members, he will participate in an interfaith service at St. Louis Cathedral. That service is being held to pray for victims, survivors, and the community.
Paul Murphy is joining us live inside the cathedral tonight with a preview of it tonight. Paul?
Katie, Sharice, people are already filing into St. Louis Cathedral for the 6 p.m. service, and there is a lot of security in and around Jackson Square as we await President Joe Biden's arrival here. And I spoke with Archbishop Gregory Amen earlier today about his hopefully healing and a phone conversation he had with President Biden. Jackson Square is on lockdown as New Orleans police, Louisiana state troopers, and the Secret Service secure the area surrounding St. Louis Cathedral. This is where representatives from the city's faith community will gather with President Joe Biden in prayer for those who died and the many still hurting from the New Year's Eve terror attack on Bourbon Street. An Army veteran drove a truck into revelers in the French Quarter, killing 14 and injuring 30 more.
It is very difficult, I think, for a lot of people to find hope in this. I think we need time to process it. We need time to think about it, to pray about it. And I really do think, some people said, where was God when all this was happening? My belief is that God was crying.
According to New Orleans Catholic Archbishop Gregory Amen, candles with the name of each victim who died will be carried up one by one to the sanctuary during the service. He also said President Joe Biden will carry up a final candle representing the United States. The Archbishop spoke with the president by phone over the weekend.
When he realized that all the details were settled, he was coming to New Orleans anyway and to meet with the families. And when he heard about the interfaith service, he asked if he could attend and if he could say a few words at the end. So obviously we said yes.
Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry and a large number of other state and local leaders are expected to attend the interfaith service as well.
It's amazing the number of people who have been affected. Not only the 14 who have died and the more than 30 who have been in hospitals and injured, but it's affected our community, certainly New Orleans. It's affected the nation, but also the world.
Again, the interfaith service is expected to begin at 6 this evening. We're live inside St. Louis Cathedral. Paul Murphy, WWL, Louisiana.
All right, thank you so much, Paul. And let's take a live look outside the cathedral now. You can see lots of people milling about as we get ready for the President of the United States to visit that area. Lots of people waiting to get in. You can see the metal detectors there. Lots of police and Secret Service, I imagine, already sweeping the facility.
Yeah, the prayer service is open to the public, and security lines again have opened at the corner of Chartres and St. Anne. As you just saw, you're being asked to limit the size of your bag and how many items you bring with you because of enhanced security. Now, the President and First Lady stopped at the memorial to the victims on Bourbon Street as soon as they arrived. Lily Cummings is on Bourbon Street. Lily, what did you see?
Sharice, if you remember, this memorial started the day after the attack by NOPD and city leaders with 14 yellow roses. I'm going to take a step out of the way so you all can see just how much it has grown in the last few days. Of course, they held a vigil here on Saturday, and now we know that even our national leader, President Joe Biden, has visited this site. He and his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, laying a bouquet of flowers down here shortly after 4 p.m. this afternoon. afternoon. Now, they weren't here long visiting the memorial, just a few minutes that they spent here, but we do know that President Joe Biden said a prayer, did the sign of the cross across his chest before leaving, getting in his motorcade, and then presumably heading towards the cathedral. Now, we do know, of course, that he is visiting with victims' families while he is here as well. So he visited this memorial, presumably going to visit with those families, and then will take part in that prayer service happening at the cathedral at 6 p.m. Now, just being out here for the last several hours, I can say that people continue to come out. They put flowers on this memorial, candles. Of course, you see the 14 crosses that are here for those 14 victims, the 14 people that lost their lives in this senseless attack. And President Joe Biden is just another person coming to pay their respects that we have seen this afternoon. And folks that were coming out here were on their way to the cathedral, walking down Bourbon, taking a moment to pause, to reflect, to leave what they wanted to leave so that they could make their way to the cathedral for that prayer service. So we've seen all walks of life out here paying their respects to these victims and their families. It's obviously still a very somber scene here at the corner of Bourbon and Canal, and we've also seen the other day we had JPSO blocking off Bourbon with a large truck of theirs to protect this area. Today I can say that we have City of New Orleans blocking off this intersection here at Bourbon and Canal with a large truck. They also have still got those yellow archers along the sidewalks here to prevent cars from driving up on the sidewalk. So still a somber scene here at Bourbon and Canal, and I imagine that this memorial will continue to grow in the days to come. Katie, Charisse.
Man, what a change from what Bourbon Street used to look like right there. Thank you so much, Lily. And, you know, that's not the only memorial, obviously, around the state. Those funerals and remembrances of the victims are continuing.
Meg Ferris joining us now from the French Quarter with the latest on those. Meg, I know that we have so many victims that we are honoring, but also so many people in the hospital still recovering.
That's correct, Katie and Charisse. Now, another of the young victims whose life was taken too soon in that New Year's morning terrorism attack was laid to rest today in Lafayette. And schools across the state, as you mentioned, began the first of 14 days of observance. In the cold winter air, the faint sounds of the bells of St. Louis Cathedral in Jackson Square tolled midday on Monday for the 14 victims killed in the quarter on New Year's morning. Flags around the city flew at half-staff in their honor as well. Just a couple of hours to our west, family and friends buried another young victim of the terrorism attack. Services for Tiger Besh, only 27, were in Lafayette at the Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist. The former football player was working in his dream job in New York as an analyst on Wall Street.
On Tuesday, January 7th, will be in remembrance of Tiger Besh.
Tuesday is the day public schools across Louisiana take a moment of silence to remember Tiger. A young man his family says, quote, loved eating more Louisiana gumbo and Cajun food than anyone could imagine. He had a belly and heart full on his way to heaven. Governor Landry announced that each of the 14 run over by a terrorist will have a moment of silence across the state at the beginning of each school day. Monday's moment of silence was for Kareem Badawi of Baton Rouge, a 4.0 freshman at the University of Alabama. At 17, George Angeletti, a senior at Sophie Wright High, observed the first moment of silence and reflects on how he's just 1 year younger than Kareem was.
It's actually crazy to me because as close as we are in age, I feel like it could have happened to me if I was at the wrong spot. It could have happened to anybody.
Teachers and coaches observed that moment, too.
Just caring about this city, this country, this world. It's ironic that in our school we have a moment of silence every morning. And this puts another face, another reasoning on that moment of silence.
Tuesday, the school will inform the students about being cautious and give them a chance to exhale.
Just making sure that if they have stuff that they want to say and get off their chest, we want to make sure that they tell their stories and how they feel too.
And I encourage you, if you get a chance, to go online and read Tiger Besh's obituary. Let me just read the sentence from it. He crammed 80 years of living into 27. This year he ran with the bulls in Paloma. He saw the Great Pyramids of Egypt, traveled to Morocco and Ibiza. If you learn anything from Tiger, let it be this: book the flight, take the trip, love fiercely. Reporting live from the French Quarter, Meg Farris, WWL, Louisiana.
Oh, Meg, thanks so much. That gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Oh, that's incredible. Well, in the wake of this tragedy, city and state officials have vowed to identify weaknesses when it comes to security and fix them.
But there's still a lot of backlash. Whitney Miller details the calls for accountability with the New Orleans Police Department. Whitney, especially as we go into carnival season, people want to feel safe knowing that they are not a target.
Yeah, that's right. NOPD Chief Ann Kirkpatrick has been getting backlash after she said she did not know that the city had archers available that could have been used to protect the sidewalk, further preventing vehicles from coming down Bourbon Street. Now, as you may know, the bollards were not up at the time the suspect rammed a pickup truck into a crowd of people on New Year's Day. Only an NOPD vehicle blocked the main road there. Some people have been even calling for Kirkpatrick to resign or be terminated, but not everyone agrees. Today, the Fraternal Order of Police released this statement in support of Kirkpatrick. It reads in part, "There are hundreds of events every year, and these crowds are very difficult to protect, and attacks are difficult to predict. Any of these crowds is a potential target for a terrorist using a vehicle as a weapon." It goes on to say, "We continue to support our superintendent." And in a statement released Saturday by the Police Association of New Orleans, they warn against the, quote, knee-jerk reactions and said, in part, quote, "The tragic events of New Year's Day rightly stirs tremendous passion and exacerbates the need for explanation in us all. But fairness dictates that all the details and information be processed and confirmed before conclusions are drawn and responsibilities are assigned." And when it comes to the attacker in this case, the FBI is still investigating the motives and the means of the New Year's Day attack.
An investigation that is certainly ongoing. Every day we get new information. Whitney, thank you.